Good day, everybody. My name is John Oluwafemi Olla, and I'm here to talk about SDGs. Like I've said, my name is John Oluwafemi Olla. A Civic Speak Champion 2019 fellow. I'm also a challenge winner of Open Government Social Impact. Also a fellow of Accountability Lab, Yali alumnus, and representative of Nigerian Youth SDG network. I'll be talking briefly about Sustainable Development Goal, the why, where we are, and where we should be going. I think before talking about Sustainable Development Goal, we need to talk about what actually comes before Sustainable Development Goal and why we actually need to come up, why the United Nations actually came up with Sustainable Development Goal. There's one thing we need to note here. MDGs were the forerunner of Sustainable Development Goal. That's a Millennium Development Goal. I was fortunate to be part of the leader of SDG team while I was serving at Kebbi State, and seriously, we don't really know much about what Millennium Development Goal was. How we understand is that we have to be a set of humanitarian, help people, try to do what we have in that 8 goals of Millennium Development Goals. And if you look at Millennium Development Goal very well, all these goals are focusing on developing and underdeveloped countries. We talking about hunger. When talking about eradicating hunger, we are talking about one of the features of underdeveloped countries and developing nations. And we also talked about achieve universal primary education. And if you look at that very well, in most developed countries, they have universal education. In fact, a lot of people put their children in public schools in the developed world because all the facility needed are actually available. Then also, they also talked about one of the goals, which is goal 3, is to promote gender equality and empower women. Although that can sound somehow universal to all of us, both developed and the other divide which we can consider as underdeveloped and developing countries. Then we talked about reduced child mortality. That also is peculiar to all those of us in the developing and underdeveloped countries. And we also talked about improve mental health. Talking of mental health, then we also talked about combat HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other diseases. These, of course, is most peculiar to us in terms of malaria, and we focus on that a lot. We talked about polio, malarias, and other diseases confronting the continent of Africa, confronting the people in the developing and underdeveloped countries, and also ensure environmental sustainability, develop global partnership for development. And of course, having gone through all this for years, promoting Millennium Development Goal, a lot of people, what they understand is about implementation of projects, but not the knowledge aspect of Millennium Development Goal. And so it's considered, for most of us, MDG is considered as partly a failure in Africa, that we were unable to achieve all these goals when talking of Millennium Development Goal. And therefore there is a need to actually come up with something after the years um, and that is sustainable development goal. Um, why sustainable development goal? Have we actually made any progress? Are we moving forward? There's some school of thoughts. They actually divided achievement, the progress of achieving sustainable development goal into, partly some actually divided it into two. We have moderate progress and we have significant progress. If you make moderate progress, of course you have to achieve goal 10. You have to achieve goal 2, 0 hunger. You have to achieve goal 9, innovation. You have to achieve goal 15, goal 1, and goal 17. Then for significant ones, you have to achieve that of education, you have to achieve that of health, you have to achieve goal 7 as well. So these are part of the school of thoughts that actually categorize the achievement of sustainable development goal. Now, if you look at it very well, Millennium Development Goal actually focus on developing countries. It has social goals. They use static data in driving it. Then it's also focused more on government and policymakers. But sustainable development goal, what we have is we want to make it universal, not just for. Now I'm comparing Millennium Development Goal and Sustainable Development Goal. For one area, MDGs focuses more on developing country, but Sustainable Development Goal focus more on universal goals. Also, MDG focus on social goals, while Sustainable Development Goal focuses on social, economic, and environment. MDG focus on assistance, while Sustainable Development Goal is looking at investment and assistance, then public and private partnership. Then also MDGs focus on static data, multi-year lags, and all the rest. But Sustainable Development Goal actually focus on real-time dynamic data. And also we have MDG focusing on government and policymakers, but Sustainable Development Goal is actually focusing on everyone. And of course that would take me to the next stage, and that is the 5 P's. The 5 P's of Sustainable Development Goal. The first P is the people. That this goal is driven by people, social and cultural. The social life and the cultural life have to be put into consideration. That you don't just design project for them. You have to put into consideration their social life and of course their cultural life. And also we also look at planet, of course, that's environment. We have to look at how all these P's actually impacts the environment, and of course whatever you give to the environment is exactly what the environment will give back to you. So the first P impacts on the second P, which is environment, and environment too gives back to all the P's. And of course we talked about prosperity in terms of economy. The people determines what the economic looks like, and of course impacts on the environment, which is planet. Then we talked about peace. Prosperity will not be achieved if there is no peace, and the people are the one that drives the peace. And of course even war actually impacts the environment. And of course we talked about partnership. So what this P is talking about is that citizens and politics, power, decision, and action should be matched together in order to actually achieve the sustainable development goal. In order to get good education, we need partnership. In order to get good health, we need partnership. Public-private partnership. We need public. We need private. We need all the sectors to come together to actually achieve sustainable development goal. Then now let me quickly read an equation to you, and the equation is sustainable development goal is equals to economic growth plus social development plus environmental protection. So for SDG innovators, you have to look at whatever you want to innovate. They should fall under these three things, because as they will serve as those things that will actually make a sustainable development goal driven innovation. So whatever you do must be contribute to economic growth. Whatever you do must actually contribute to sustainable development goal, or that of environmental protection. Of course, that's what I'm working on. I'm working on the social audit, and of course environmental impact assessment audit. So of course my actually cut across everything, because we audit the impact of non-compliance to environmental impact assessment standards. So you come up with innovations. You just have to come up with innovations that can actually impact the economy, the social development and environment positively. Next on my slide is actually the data revolution sustainable world. We need to know that SDG is a knowledge driven. They are policies that are driven by knowledge, and all these things cannot be done without data. We need accurate data. You need data, as in data. So for us to actually get all these things done, we need to do research, we need to do data mining, we need to organize data, we need to analyze data, we need to do a proper sieving of data, so that by the time we want to advocate, will be advocating from the knowledge angle, from the area in which people will know that we actually know what we are advocating for. And of course, I would like to talk about the interconnectedness of SDGs. It can be less emphasized or overemphasized. Sustainable development goal in itself is, none of the goals can stand alone. That is number one, that we need to understand, that none of the goals can actually stand on their own. The 17th goal speaks to that. A lot of people actually emphasize on 17th goal as speaking to the interconnectedness, but you need to look at it from the very first goal, that sustainable development goal 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me pick education. Education impacts on every one of them. So education impacts on every one of them, just like lack of peace will impact on social, economic and environment. So you can actually treat all these goals in isolation. And that's where my advice will come in. For those of us that are working in this social space, social development space, we need to understand that there is nothing called we want to do it alone. We can't do it alone. It's something that we should work together. We need to work together to achieve this sustainable development goal. And people working in education can actually use their teaching prowess to help teach people on how to be self-dependent, how to be innovative, teach all the 17 goals, and of course people in the environment, they should come up with ideas that will help other people living in good health. So all these things can actually not stand in isolation. They can't stand alone. We can't operate a silo data. We have to operate a big data where everything is put together. So at this point I want to ask a question. Are we taking a baby step, or are we taking a leap? In conclusion, we should be thinking, instituting solution and not just implementation alone. Most of the solutions in MDG does not have sustainability designed into them, and therefore the solution failed the criteria for institutionalization. If the only thing that SDG has given us is the word sustainability, I think it is good enough if all our solutions, inventions, workable policy can be sustained. We need to localize sustainable development goals. We don't need to do it the way other people do it. We need to do it in a way that will make it work for us. At this point, I want to say thank you very much for listening. And of course, it's SDGs. And of course, I'm an SDG advocate. My name is Oluwafemi. Once again, my Twitter handle is White, or you just call it TWERGY White. TWERGY That's Twergy White. Or you reach me on @UpAfrica. @UpAfrica. My name is Oluwafemi once again. I'm popularly called Ambizuli. And until next time I come online to discuss another topic on sustainable development goal.